SpongeBob.
SpongeBob SquarePants needs no introduction. Whether it's jellyfishing with Patrick, karate with Sandy, cooking with Mr. Krabs, or restraining orders with Squidward, he's like family. But it's easy to forget that SpongeBob has his own, apart from us and his buddies. The SquarePants family line goes deep, and it may surprise you. Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and grab yourself a Krabby Patty as we take a trip through SpongeBob's family tree. Are you ready, kids? And ancestors? Okay. That's right, with 13 seasons to flesh out the lore of SpongeBob's increasingly weird world, we have to go all the way back to prehistoric times, and who else to start with but Primitive Sponge? If you were on the internet at any point in 2016, I'm willing to bet actual money you recognize this frame. This fine specimen is the legendary Primitive Sponge, debuting in the Season 1 episode SB-129. Doing justice to his name, Primitive Sponge is essentially SpongeBob with all the intelligence and grace of a monkey with mad snail disease. He'll attack indiscriminately if he feels threatened and learns much like a young child, having no issue using Squidward's arm as a sensory toy. There's not much else to say, other than the fact that he's apparently very polite, considering he wears at least 2 loincloths at all times, just in case. Next, we have Spongegar. Spongegar is a descendant of Primitive Sponge. He's only capable of few words and minimal intelligence.
Spongegar ready! Spongegar!
In his era, he and his neighbors at least had prehistoric versions of their homes, showing that they likely came along a good bit after. There's not much else to say, save for his role in discovering fire, which is even more impressive considering they live underwater. Now we have SpongeBuck SquarePants. Before there was Bikini Bottom, there was Bikini Gulch. Likewise, before there was SpongeBob, there was SpongeBuck, a hero who rode into town and became the sheriff.
Give me a shot of milk.
Ultimately, he saves everyone from the evil Deadeye Plankton, resulting in a solid gold statue built in his honor. Side note, the fact that it stood so long when Mr. Krabs is in town is nothing short of a miracle. One interesting note about SpongeBuck's story is that he shows up first as an outsider, which suggests that SpongeBob's ancestry migrated to the Bikini Bottom area after the other residents of the town, like Squidward or Patrick. While I'd like to think there wasn't some severe falling out between SpongeBob and Paytar or Squog, it's little details like this that really do make you wonder. But for now, let's drop it to talk about someone who's a little more recent. SpongeBuck's great-great-great-great-great-grandson, Grandpa SquarePants. He's actually one of the first members of SpongeBob's family to be referenced in the Season 1 episode, Rock Bottom, where SpongeBob recalls his advice to never chase a bus, especially one that's going up at a 90-degree angle. Presumably dead before its events, his only other appearance is in another piece of memorable advice in The Sponge Who Could Fly, trying to tell his naive grandson that if he were meant to fly, he'd have propellers on his head or jet engines on his back. Aside from giving advice, he also seems to have the ability to remain consciously aware of the events going on around him, as shown by Patrick having a similar flashback where Grandpa SquarePants pokes him in the head, reminding him he's not his grandfather. Who's to say what other powers Grandpa SquarePants holds from beyond the grave? Those powers may be sweet, but I doubt they're as sweet as the cookies you can get from Grandma SquarePants. And while yes, I know what it looks like, she's not a cookie herself, just a more circular sponge. Grandma SquarePants has a few episodes where she's a major character. The most notable is Grandma's Kisses, which demonstrates her character perfectly. She's caring and compassionate, spoiling SpongeBob with cookies, storybooks, hugs, and kisses anytime he comes over, even though SpongeBob's an adult. She also respects his wishes when he temporarily wants to be a grown-up, only to go back on it a few hours later when he becomes jealous of Patrick's attention from her. Man, that I don't want to grow up tantrum hits a lot harder now, huh? Next is Harold SquarePants. Harold is the polite, straight-laced father of SpongeBob. He's a very supportive dad and is always there when he's needed. He helps arrange a surprise party for Mrs. Puff after SpongeBob passes his driving test, and afterwards reveals that he's bought him a brand new boatmobile. The storybook Hooray for Dads also suggests he taught SpongeBob everything he knows about jellyfishing. It's easy to see why SpongeBob is so confident and happy. Harold was a really good role model and a healthy father figure. He may not have a ton of screen time, but you won't find a lot of Nicktoon dads better than him. And now we have Margaret SquarePants. Like Harold, she's very supportive of SpongeBob and her spouse. There isn't really too much to say about her that can't be said about Harold. Both are decent people who love and care about their son. And that said, it is very interesting to note that Mrs. SquarePants was apparently pregnant with SpongeBob, as proven in the episode Truth or Square. SpongeBob is known to be asexual and can reproduce by budding. So, is pregnancy just the way female sponges reproduce by budding? Or do male sponges have to get pregnant too? Is every one of their holes a birth canal? Should we move on before this discussion goes way too far? Yeah, we should. So let's talk about the first of SpongeBob's two known uncles, Uncle Captain Blue. This retired police captain is one of many relatives SpongeBob runs to for help when facing his brute cousin, Blackjack. Since he only appears in the one episode, there's not too much to say about him, save for the fact that he's rather lazy and has a habit of mishearing SpongeBob due to his tendency to have constant loud noises in his garage. And for a retired cop, he's pretty cowardly, given his lack of courage to help SpongeBob face Blackjack. And then we have Uncle Sherm. Uncle Sherm has never made an actual episode appearance outside of cameos, but he's been mentioned rather consistently in several forms of media in the series. Most memorably, he's the father of Stanley S. SquarePants, who we'll get to later, and he can fit an entire watermelon up his nose. I mean, it's worth some credit, right? Next, we have SpongeBob's cousin, Todd. Here we have our first family member sourced from media outside of the cartoon. He only appears in the story reader book, The Never-Ending Stay. He looks identical to SpongeBob, if SpongeBob got hit with a truck full of cheap party store costume supplies. Todd is like a freeloader, staying over at SpongeBob's place and making a total mess of things, taking advantage of our poor, too nice to say no Sponge. Our next entry goes to Cousin Larry, not to be confused with Larry the Lobster or Larry the Rebound Snail. Cousin Larry is, he's mentioned one time. SpongeBob mentions him in the PC game Operation Krabby Patty when he misinterprets Plankton telling him he's kidnapped Gary. SpongeBob mistakenly thinks he's kidnapped his cousin named Larry.
You hid my cousin Larry?
Which is quite literally the extent of what we know about him. Hell, he wasn't even mentioned in one of the good SpongeBob games. Now we have Blackjack. Feared by the majority of his family, especially SpongeBob, Blackjack is SpongeBob's cousin, and the last one with an unknown father. He was shown in a flashback to constantly bully SpongeBob in their childhood due to his own massive size, and when released from jail, he threatened SpongeBob's parents and even grandmother to goad him into fighting, or at least SpongeBob thought it was a threat. In actuality, the guy was literally just visiting his uncle and aunt, but the cleverly laid out letters did get SpongeBob to show retaliation against his cousin. Finally, thankfully, Mr. Two Marshmallows is too heavy, doesn't have to fight Blackjack after all, given that he's literally the size of his big toe.
Prepare to relive your past in the present.
Either Blackjack was shrunken in prison as punishment for littering, or maybe SpongeBob just grew a lot. We may never know. Next is SpongeBob's most memorable cousin, Stanley S. SquarePants. Sent by his father Sherm to SpongeBob's house out of desperation to straighten him out, Stanley's a guy who quite literally ruins everything he touches. This aside, SpongeBob and him actually get along well, with SpongeBob doing his best to work with him and encourage him to find his place in the world.
I'll bet Patrick can help ya. He's a genius.
Last we saw him, Stanley was working a new job at the Chum Bucket, and of course, he blew it up in seconds. Sadly, this was the last time we've seen Stanley or even heard any mention of him. It'd be nice to see Stanley get some help and find a place where he can live a happy, fulfilling life. He's a nice guy. He's just destructive and annoying enough to set even SpongeBob off. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? That's right, we finally reached SpongeBob SquarePants. And honestly, what can we say about SpongeBob? We've talked more about him than practically anyone else during the course of this channel. He's the best friend anyone under the sea could ask for, even the most morally depraved. Since we already know SpongeBob, who else lives in a pineapple under the sea? A little sea snail named Gerald Wilson Jr. Come on, adopted pet or not, did you really expect us to leave Gary out of the family tree? And before anyone asks, yes, Gerald Wilson Jr. is in fact his real name. Watch the episode Treats if you don't believe me.
Gary Wilson Jr.
SpongeBob treats Gary better than many people treat their kids. He's one of his best friends, to the point where SpongeBob will do anything to make him happy and protect him, even if that means searching the entire globe to find discounted snail treats for him. What's more, whenever SpongeBob and Gary are separated, SpongeBob is devastated. We all know the Gary Come Home song by heart, I guarantee it. If dogs are man's best friend, then snails must be Sponge's best friend. Now we have Patrick Star. SpongeBob's idiot best friend is actually a first cousin of Gary's, according to a family tree shown in the episode Rule of Dumb, which would technically make Patrick an adoptive nephew of SpongeBob's. I think, at least. Look, even we have our limits when it comes to overthinking the logistics of these things. Next is Doodlebob. Think about it. SpongeBob literally drew this man and brought him into existence. It got to the point where Doodlebob got his hands on the magic pencil used to create him, trying his hardest to alter the reality of things around him. He ultimately had to be imprisoned in a piece of paper to be subdued. Hey, at least things ended better for SpongeBob playing God than for Dr. Frankenstein. We've only got a few more millenniums to cover, but don't click off. They can be covered in just 2 entries, the first being SpongeBob's grandson. At the end of The Great Patty Caper, we get a flash forward of 75 years to an elderly SpongeBob talking to a younger Sponge playing a video game. He tells him of the exciting train mystery special, to which he replies with absolutely no interest. I don't blame him, it was a season 7 episode. It's interesting to know that SpongeBob apparently reproduced by budding pretty early in life though. Maybe one day we'll see a flash forward of his unnamed child too. Also notable, look at the game he's playing. Do Game Boys come back in 75 years? I'm holding you to that, SpongeBob. And for the grand finale, we go a mere 1,925 more years into the future to talk about the eventual creation of Spongetron. And of course, Spongetrons X, Y, and Z, and the 486 other Spongetron clones. They're basically identical to SpongeBob. Absorbent, yellow, square, friendly, working in a restaurant. The main difference is that they're also highly advanced robots who have access to both a time machine and a can opener room. To this day, I have to wonder what purpose that can opener room serves, and also why exactly there are so many clones of SpongeBob. Is SpongeBob some kind of Ned Flanders-esque dictator in the future? Is he just that well liked? Is it a reference to the popularity SpongeBob will inevitably hold by then, when we as a society communicate solely in SpongeBob quotes? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, I really want that laser hammer.